Hey everyone, it's Logan here from On the Porch with Front Porch Music. Now, before we get into today's episode, I have to start with a quick note. Normally, as you know, Jenna and I are both hanging out on the porch for these conversations, but today Jenna's flying solo. She grabbed the coffee, pulled up a chair, and had a great chat with our guest. Today you'll hear her conversation with Braden Lam, a singer-songwriter whose journey in music has been anything but overnight. From growing up in Ontario to building his career in Halifax, Braden has spent the past decade honing his craft at what he calls a blue-collar songwriter, telling thoughtful stories through folk and Americana-inspired music. In this episode, they dive into the making of his debut album, Cloudmaker's Cry, the storytelling behind songs like Beautiful Neighborhoods, and how local history on the East Coast has shaped the way he writes. They also talk about life on tour, the long road to signing with Universal Music, and what it's like going from a small team to suddenly having a whole new crew helping bring his music to the world. It's a great conversation about building a music career over time, trusting your instincts, and how the stories around us, our hometowns, our histories, and our own experiences can turn into songs that last forever. So grab your coffee, pull up a chair with Jenna and Braden, and enjoy the conversation.
Good morning. Are we having morning coffee on the porch this
Good
morning?
morning. Yes. Oh, we both have our coffee. How lovely.
I have
Yes.
to. It's only 9:30 here. Braden Lamb, welcome to On the Porch with Front Porch Music. Sorry, we are down a host today. Logan had a meeting that he could not miss, so you only get me this morning.
All good. Well, cheers to Logan with our coffees. We miss you, but happy to have you, Jenna. Yeah. Thanks for chatting with
Yeah,
me.
of course. Why don't you tell us where you're coming from today? Because I'm visualizing something beautiful on the coast.
Yes. Yeah. I'm in a hotel room at the moment, but in sunny Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. I even like face the window so I get the beautiful
Oh,
sun rays on
yes.
me and natural
Yes.
light. I'm not currently facing the ocean, sadly, but I do
Mm.
have a decent view of the city. And Charlottetown's very, historic, very pretty. So I have no complaints. We're off to Moncton today for 5 more shows in a row on this tour. So we're 4 shows in at the moment, and we got 10 more to go total. Yeah,
Oh God, no sleep
big
till.
week. Yeah, yeah.
You could have lied and said you could see the ocean because nobody can tell.
Dang it! No notes from my next interview.
No,
Yeah.
oh, that's great. So, what you're like you said, you're 4 shows in, working on five, lots more to go.
Hmm.
What tour? You're on tour. You're
Yeah.
on tour
So
with
some
Schoolhouse.
on tour Schoolhouse right now. Amazing group of guys from Ottawa. And yeah, we're doing 14 shows across Eastern Canada. So we started in Halifax last week in my hometown, and we are going all as far south Ontario as London. London, Ontario, I believe, is like the furthest. But then we're sort of jumping around Ontario a bit. We end up last 14th show is in Kitchener, and
What's
it's like,
so funny is I'm in Kitchener and
oh,
I'm dog sitting in Kitchener and I'm literally walking by the venue that you're going to play at.
oh
I
no
was
way,
looking at the tour list and I was like, I know
nice,
exactly where they're playing and it's
yeah,
right there across the street.
awesome. Bring the puppy by, please. We need more
I
puppies
don't
at
know.
shows.
Puppies at shows. Are you hearing that venues? Let the dogs in.
I don't think venues would like that, but the
No,
musicians
no, no.
would. Yeah.
Exactly. I think the patrons would. It's a better experience. Maybe we have to open our own bar where we
Love
have
that.
put on
Yeah.
shows. And if you don't have a dog, you can't come in.
Love that. I mean, I wouldn't be able, I don't have a
Co-sign?
dog, so I wouldn't be able to come in. I would be sad, but I would want to meet all the puppies
I'll
and have
spare you a
them.
dog.
Yeah. Maybe green room puppies is like the in-between
Yeah, that's
stage, the
totally a
starter.
thing.
Yeah.
It's like puppy yoga. They just
Yes.
bring a little litter of babies.
Love it.
Okay. Why don't we back it up a little bit? You're on tour Schoolhouse right now.
Hmm.
A lot of things have happened to get on tour and be in a van with your pals. So you're from Halifax. Can we start there? You're from Halifax.
Yeah.
Obviously, you picked up some music at some point in your life, but why don't you give us the Braden Lamb, just a little bit longer than elevator
The
intro?
Braden Lamb rundown. Yeah, for sure. So I've been living in Halifax for a decade now, almost a decade, coming up on a decade, I think, this fall. I moved out there when I was 18, from Uxbridge, Ontario, where I grew up, and
Oh,
I had a musical start in Uxbridge, doing like musical theater, choirs, some open mics as I got into my high school years, but It was in Halifax when I moved out there, and started living on my own for the first time. I went to university out there. That really like was where it opened the music world for me. I took any gig I could find on campus. I ended up running an open mic for like the 4 years that I was at Dalhousie University, and then by the time I was able to, I was 19 and able to go to bars and stuff. I ended up putting together different bands and groups and playing solo whenever I could, and yeah, just like really cut my teeth in the Halifax scene. I obviously like also dove into the plenty of inspiration that comes from the East Coast in terms of, you know, the music and the other artists that are out here. I remember just like diving into, Winter Sleep, Joel Plaskett, Mo Kenny, like all these fabulous songwriters. I think Nova Scotia and the East Coast as a whole is just so well known for its songwriters and its storytelling, and that inspired me from the get-go and has been a very formative piece in my music career over the past 10 years as I, figured out what my story was and figured out the stories I wanted to tell from my experience of living here in the past 10 years. So yeah, that's like where a lot of my writing source comes from, especially my first record that I put out last year. It's a bit of an ode to me fumbling my way through the beginnings of a music career and also figured out myself and becoming an adult and living on the East Coast. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, did you go to Dal for music then, or
No, no, I ended up going to
no,
Dalhousie for biology and environmental science.
for Plan B,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, no, yeah. Well, yeah, as my mom would say, that was my plan A. But
Oops,
in
sorry,
my
mom.
brain, music was always the plan A for sure. Um, and by fourth year, I was like pretty committed to the music biz, and I was letting my grades slip a bit, probably. Yeah, sorry again, mom. But no, I still got a lot from that experience. I'm actually really glad I still went to university and did that. Like just for that early 20s experience of living, having roommates and being on a campus, being surrounded too by just like so many different people and different cultures. I got a lot of writing skills from university that I still use, in my everyday as an entrepreneur and a business owner. And there's like a whole other side to the music career that you need a whole different set of skills for. And I feel like I still
Totally.
got a lot of that from university. So yeah, no regrets. I had a great time. And it's also what brought me out here, so I can't complain. I have no regrets either in like the choice I made to move out from Ontario to out here. Like I weirdly didn't even look at any photos of Halifax before I moved. Like I had just like only heard good things, and I
Had
went
you
out,
you hadn't visited?
never visited. No,
Never.
I'd
Oh my
been
God.
to the East Coast as a kid, on like a family road trip, but I had never actually been into Halifax. Not that I would have remembered really anyways, like I would have been like 8 or maybe 10 or something. But yeah, for me, it was like it just felt right in my core, and I listened
Hmm.
to that instinct. And I feel like that's a ongoing trend as well in my career, is just following my gut and surrounding myself with the people that I feel align best. And yeah, trusting those instincts is like something that has been a big theme in my life and in my career that I will keep on with.
Have you heard of the term entry level adult at all? It's
No,
like
entry
it's
level
so
adult.
yeah, so I'm in the next decade now, so I'm like, oh my God, I wish I had this term when I was like navigating my 20s. But you speak so like so thoughtfully about like you said like navigating through your experiences as a young adult, and all I can think about is people who are currently in their early 20s, i.e. the entry level adult, and they're
Yeah.
trying to just like go with the flow. Like how do you maybe it's the East Coast air. Maybe that's all it maybe that's what it is. But you seem like you like really learned from your experiences in your younger years and the formative element of it. So like how are you thinking all these things and creating these beautiful stories through music when you're still figuring shit out? Like life is hard, you know?
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, I think my whole life I've been, given a lot of I've been lucky to been given a lot of like independence and at the same time encouraged to explore like, all sorts of different mediums. Like, our family motto growing up was like stay busy, stay out of trouble. So like we just like I have two older brothers, I'm the youngest, and so
Oh no, I'm
looking
so
up to them
sorry.
as no, 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 it's good. Like honestly, like I think in a way that gave me even more independence because I saw what they were doing and I said,
Hmm.
"Oh, I want to do something different because that's their thing," you know? Like I saw that they were doing these certain sports or they were doing, photography and videography or like painting and I was like, "No, I want to be the music kid." And so like, I think it's the whole picture for me of like just a constant life of, exploration, experimentation, figuring out who I am and then also yeah like big life decisions like moving into Halifax and then I'd say another core one is I started a business with my wife just in like 2021 out of COVID because music wasn't a thing and that was a whole
Yep.
other like big life
Okay.
changing step
What's
and
that
experience.
business?
So my wife runs it now. It's called Fauna Sugaring. It's a salon in Halifax, which is
Cool.
funny enough. Also, not a great business to try and run in a pandemic, but we we pulled it off, and we're here back today. We still paid our rent, so yeah, it was definitely a lot of work, and kind of an interesting experiment as well to apply my like music marketing skills to a very different industry altogether. But yeah, so that's us now. Now I'm back to full time music, which I'm super happy about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you said you've been in the music industry for about a decade. Can you think about 10 years ago, starting out? I'm sure you're like, how do I do this? And like where you're at today, you're on tour, you have your first album that you released last year. We have to talk about the Universal Music deal
Yeah.
and just all of the things that have happened over the last few years for you. So think about that young version of you. Like what was he thinking?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't like sometimes I try to remind myself like that is such a good exercise I think to be like, you know, imagine if you could show your like ten years ago self what you're doing now. I think at the time like I wasn't thinking super long term. It was just music was all something part of my life. And
Hmm.
then it was almost like the trial period, I guess, for like, oh, is this going to be something you can like enjoy on a professional level? Because it's always been, my side hustle. It was my hobby. It was my passion at the time, 10 years ago. And it was an opportunity, I think, over the past 10 years to be like, can this be my full-time job? Can this support, can I make a livelihood out of this? And it's been amazing to see that like slowly unfold and see how much hard work can go
Hmm.
into that. So yeah, like I'm very proud of 10 years ago Braden who didn't give up, who like didn't you know who still put all of his hearts and hard work into it because I think I my career really is the accumulation of like the past 10 years of yeah thought and energy and intention and learning so much learning and also so many mentors like being in Nova Scotia. I just like was also surrounded by such great people to look up to in this business and yeah I'm just so grateful for that. It's not like an overnight thing for me. Like this Universal signing really wasn't I'm not like a viral TikTok person or anything that like had a big like success overnight. It's like no, I'm just like I sometimes like to say I'm like a blue collar songwriter, like someone who's just been honing his craft for a while and has finally arrived. And I'm really excited to be here and really excited to see what's next and to take it to the next step with the Universal team.
I love the blue collar songwriter. I hope nobody else runs with it because that's I love like that's perfect. Um, so it's funny you say like this is wasn't an overnight thing for you because last year I heard about you first through the SiriusXM Top of the Country program.
Yeah, cool.
I
Yeah.
was like, where is he? Who's he? Who's this guy? He must be new. And obviously I go digging then and I'm like, nope, not new. Not new at all. But you had just released your first album. So, like that
Yeah.
would have been a busy year, eh? Doing the Top of the Country top eight
hmm
and then album coming out. Like was last year quite a busy year for you then?
Yeah. It was super slammed. Like for that top of the country thing, for example, like because I'm on the East Coast, we were supposed to do the Toronto session, but then I ended up being in New York for a festival gig, and we ended up getting flown out to the Vancouver one, which was like a 48-hour situation. Like we like, and I've never just like flown to Vancouver on a whim. I have family there. I usually like stay a long time and visit, but it was like so funny to like to get we like had to shoot this live session and then get on to yeah releasing my album was literally the next thing right after that. And then I had an album tour through like Atlantic Canada and the Northeast U.S. And yeah, it was a really busy, fun year. But yeah, as you said, like yeah, I've been releasing music for a while, but the East Coast and like even Ontario, even Vancouver, like you find these bubbles across Canada. We're just such a big country that there's always so much music to discover, and I think that's an exciting thing as well. And I mean, I'm sure it makes your job fun. Is like, oh, who's this person?
Yes.
Like, oh, they've been releasing, like, they have so much music for me to dig into. Like, I love finding artists like that.
I actually always get annoyed. I'm like, how did I not find this person already? And I had to find it through this like national program and get the
Mm.
announcement and then go like I feel behind when that happens actually.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Thank goodness for CBC, SiriusXM,
All the
arts
things.
funding, all those things. That's good. Yeah,
Truly arts funding.
yeah.
Okay, let's talk about your album. I think that's
Cool.
important. That's a huge one milestone to release a debut album.
Yeah.
Um, but let's talk about because you're not middle of the road country by any means.
Hmm.
You're this like beautiful folk Americana. Like I'm obsessed with the sound. It's so
Thanks.
like breezy, and I love it. Obviously, I dug in as soon as I saw your name in the top of the
Hmm.
country. But where does all this like where does this come from as far as your sound and inspiration? And then let's talk about the album and the songs that you've obviously chosen for that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, like I grew up in rural Ontario, so I was always surrounded by, country music was always around me. And
Huge, yeah.
then I grew up like going to church as well and playing that kind of music. And then that led into, exploring more like contemporary sounds, like my having big brothers again, like, we're always like sharing new songs on our iPod shuffles when we were kids or
Oh
like
my
whatever we
gosh.
were using and listening to, Virgin Radio and like all the big like commercial pop stations. I didn't really grow up in like a classic record household, so I was surrounded by a lot of contemporary influences, and I think that's why my sound is a mix of a lot of those things. Is that like yeah, I know, and I also came up in high school when I first started writing songs was like this era of like 2015's kind of time when it was like Mumford and Sons, Lumineers,
Hmm.
Florence and the Machine, Ever Sharp, Magnetic Zero, Shaky Graves, like some of those live sessions and things, and seeing those bands making folk like become like the coolest thing to
Yeah.
me, a person who also played acoustic guitar. I saw myself in them, the early Ed Sheeran albums, like stuff like that, like really inspired me to write songs and pick up the guitar and be like, oh, maybe I could be a folk artist. And
Hmm.
then, later on in life, I'd say the past 5 years, I've really dug into a lot more like 60s and 70s influences, going back and like listen to more Americana music and more like alt country music. Yeah, and that's a bit more of what like inspired this Cloudmaker's Cry, my debut record sound is this combo of yeah, this like old sound meets, contemporary stories was the goal with this record, and then trying to put it together in like a really cohesive way. It was my first time making an album with like the same producer in the same space. In the past, I'd done EPs or like singles where, I'm sort of like going to different studios and like working with different producers. But this one, I was like really like, I wanted to just sound like it was made so intentionally from, track one to track 10. You could play it on a turntable, and it just like feels like you're staying in the same world. And that's yeah, that's what we did. We recorded it in like an old church in the West End of Toronto, a church that like was converted to a
Oh,
community center, which is funny. So
yeah.
this we'd like be recording during the day, and then by like we were doing like crazy like 12-hour days in the studio for like a whole month. It was wild. Me and Eli Browning, the producer, and but then by like 7 p.m. a like group of like senior Scottish dancers would come in and start like dancing in like the main hall. So we'd have to like, sort of rejig our recording situation, or it'd be like baby yoga or something hilarious downstairs in the church because their community center would be like pretty active in the evenings, and then we just have the days to have it to ourselves. And yeah, but it was fun. It was a very dynamic space. We were able to like put the drums outside in the sanctuary to get like that reverb for like hurricane
Cool.
season, for example, and all the background vocals. Those were all done in like some of the bigger spaces in that building to get these like really natural echoes and reverb sounds, which is super fun to always include like in a record. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to not just have things that are like those are things that like it's more creative to use the space and it's not necessarily something that you're just curating in your tiny little record box, like recording box, right? It's way
Yeah.
more special that you get to like be a little extra creative. No Scottish influence because of the dancers. No
No.
additional,
Yeah, no, no,
no
no.
like tapping on the floors we recorded. You know how do you follow Charlie Puth and all the insane things he does to make sounds that he
Oh yeah,
wants?
the sampling. Yeah, no, we didn't
Think of what
sample
you could have
any
done.
tap shoes. That would be
Tap
awesome though.
shoes.
Yeah.
That'd be so funny. You hear it just in the background a little bit. Just wanted
Mhm.
to keep the moment magic there.
And flute. There's a lot of like flute in that music. Or I don't know what, maybe it's a certain type of Scottish flute, but yeah, it was fun.
It's so funny. Um, Man, I just lost what I was gonna say because I had another thing that I was thinking of after that. Oh, yes. So you released your album last spring, right?
Yep. Yeah, last April.
What are if you're new to people who are listening right now, like what are those maybe top three songs that you're like, this is how you get to know me?
Ooh,
I
I'd
know it's like picking your
say,
favorite children, but
yeah, 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 it's okay. I have my favorites. I'd say Beautiful Neighborhoods, Hurricane Season, and Wide Open. I feel like those three like all kind of tap into different like facets of the stories I was trying to tell on that record. Like Beautiful Neighborhoods is a very like personal one about like my family and my ancestry. Hurricane Season's like about living on the East Coast, and then Wide Open's more of like a personal relationship song and about like
mhm.
forgiveness and trying again with someone and starting over again. So yeah, there's three
Okay,
cool little
love.
ones. Yeah.
So if Braden Lam is new for you, make sure you go at least check out those three songs today. What are some of those like key themes that you were, other than the three that you've kind of mentioned, like those stories, but what are the key themes that you wanted to keep in this album that you thought were really important to help listeners learn more about you and understand how you've evolved over the course of creating it?
Yeah, yeah. The title "Cloudmaker's Cry" uh, comes from. It's a bit of a long story, brief like spark notes because it's not really the focus of what I'm going to say. Is that there's these smokestacks in Dartmouth where I live on the other side of the
Okay.
harbor from Halifax. It's all part of Halifax, but Dartmouth is like just across the way if you go over the bridge. And there's these three smokestacks as part of a power factory, and on a clear day, it looks like they're making clouds. And so I sort of, if you grew up in the
Cute.
area, like parents would sort of tell their kids that, and it does look kind of pretty sometimes, but in reality, they're like burning
Polluting.
gas to make power. It's not so romantic when you realize what it actually is. But I like to imagine that there's maybe some hopeful workers in there, and that this is a bit of a iconic optimistic sign for our neighborhood every time you drive across the bridge. And the Cloudmaker's Cry, the cry piece for me across this record means many things, which is like I'd say a good overview of the theme is that like it's kind of a cry for grief, protest, sadness sometimes, but it's also
Okay.
this cry for like joy and a cry for relief of this like getting over the hump. It's getting through the forgiveness, getting through the healing. Um, I sort of mix a lot of like local Halifax history. There's songs about Lunenburg that has this like historic shipping community, and there's songs about the Halifax explosion and in the Narrows and things like that. And then I also tie these like themes into my current life because I really think there's a lot of urgency in the world right now, and I think there's an urgency in the message I'm trying to share in this record that there's still so much at risk. And if we have a choice right now to either stand on the sidelines and watch it happen, kind of akin to this Halifax explosion story. I guess I don't know how much you know about this, but two ships
Yeah.
collided in the harbor in 1917, and there was actually a fire on board for 20 minutes before the explosion happened, and it drew people to shore to watch. And that fact fascinated me. So for 20 minutes, people were just watching these ships burn. They didn't know that it was going to be the largest man-made explosion in the world at the time that was coming. And so scary, so sad. Thousands of people lost their lives. But to me, it's so interesting about this 20-minute window. And when I was writing this record, I really thought about how that applies to today. And it feels like we're in this 20-minute window again, and that we're watching something go down. We don't know exactly what the end result is, but it's scary. And there's a lot of human rights, a lot of environmental rights, a lot at risk. And we have to do something about it. And this record is, and some of these songs are my way of articulating that in my through my own experience. And hopefully others maybe see that in themselves as well and can connect with that and amplify those stories and those songs.
So how do you continue to build off of something that's like so thoughtful and I'm gonna use the word precise and like in a very ambiguous way, which is
Yeah,
ironic, but
yeah.
like
Yeah.
how do you've you have your record deal, which we'll get to in a sec, but as you're creating more music and wanting to tell more stories, how do you keep building off of this?
Yeah, the Cloudmakers is like a very yeah, very big story to tell. It was, hard to articulate at first, I think, because I was still figuring it out myself, like even
Mm-hmm.
when the album was just released. But now I think like it's really interesting. Those songs that maybe took about 2 years to write that record, and the new music I'm working on was all like written within like 8 to 10 months. So it's a big, much more like concise window of my life, and I feel like the next record is going to be a bit more personal, a bit less about history or Nova Scotia in particular, but more about my own lived experience and sort of navigating the past year of my life,
Mm-hmm.
like a bit of a window into yeah, a window into the time after the Cloudmakers and between whatever's next, whatever that's coming. So yeah, I guess I'm still figuring out how to articulate the next season of my life, but I do like to think of it as that. I think it's going to be an evolution of these stories. It's still going to have this similar impact and power. I will always try to tell very meaningful, personal stories. Like I love being vulnerable in my sharing, and I try not to hide anything because I do think it really is like the best way I can articulate myself is through my songs. And yeah, I'm excited to see what's next. I'm still figuring it
Yeah,
out, but
totally.
yeah, at the same time, it feels equally meaningful, but in a new, fresh way.
Definitely. Okay. And because this season is like happening so fast, I'm sure there's lots spiraling in your head of like, how are we getting here and what's going on? And
Hmm.
now I'm in a hotel trying to check out late and it's crazy. But
C'est la vie, c'est la
you,
vie. Yeah,
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 where else
it's
would you
good.
rather be?
Yep.
Um, so yeah, last week I believe we got the huge news that you've signed your first record deal, major record deal with
Hmm.
Universal. So let's, yeah, tell me about it. What are you excited about? Having a new team, all the good things.
Yeah, yeah. Talk about having a new team. It's like,
A
it's
team,
so many
having a
people.
team.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. My team has gone from like 3 people to over 100, which is amazing. It's been so great to meet everybody. Uh, the UMC team has just been like so supportive of my vision from day one, and that's been the most meaningful part of this journey so far. Is that I just feel like my artistic identity has been put first. There's obviously so much business stuff when it comes to making a record deal. There's negotiations, there's lawyers involved, blah blah blah. But like for me, that has never been the focus. It has always just been about everyone getting excited about what I'm doing next, and getting excited about like what we're going to create together, getting excited about the possibility of working together. And so having that energy around all of this, it took about probably 10 months or so to get to this announcement of chatting with the team. And yeah, it feels so good to finally be at this point where we can tell everyone and we've made it official. And yeah, and we can like, start working on the Cloudmaker's Cry,
What's
telling more of those
next?
stories. Like, it's
Yeah.
not even been a year yet since my first record came out. So we get to reshare some of those
Hmm.
songs to people who haven't heard them before, and then also get to start working on what's next. So yeah, I'm really excited. I'm excited to like, you know, keep making songs in Canada and about my life here, but also take them outside and go global with it. This next record feels like a big step. It feels like it's gonna reach even further places. So I can't wait.
Yeah. And I mean, it should, right? That's like the goal with um, joining a label and adding a team and being able to reach new places and find new people who might like your music. But it's also
Hmm.
cool that you get to reshare. Like, you put out an album and everybody's like, what's next? And
Always, yeah. It's
it's
always so
like
quick. It's like,
always. I've done it
yeah,
like 3 times so
yeah,
far in a half an hour. But like,
yeah.
um, what's often true though is you put out an album or a single and everybody's hearing it for the first time and you're already working on what's either 2 or 3 singles ahead. You're
Yeah.
pre-planned. So it's kind of nice that you get to go revisit and recirculate and like relive the Cloudmaker's Cry because of all of these things, and like take these songs to different places and not just put it on the shelf and move on to the next thing, right? That's kind of
100.
nice.
Yeah, 100%. It's really sweet actually, and it's like nice to, especially as I'm touring this record still with on tour right
Hmm.
now.
Yeah,
And it's really nice to, yeah, get the chance to talk about them again, and yeah, there's always people out there to discover your songs for the first time, we see
exactly.
that all the time with, as much as, TikTok and the internet is such an interesting force in the music industry right now, it's also a fascinating one for like artists who have already had careers for 20 plus years, and then, you know, their song blows up on there. Or, talk about like Heated Rivalry, Feist, and Wolf Parade. Like, you got all this CanCon music in a CanCon production, and boom, it's like back on the charts 20 years later. Like, that's incredible to me. And I think that's, yeah, it's always such a good reminder that the life of a song is forever. And it's so special that there's always, yeah, new people out there to connect with it.
100%.
Yeah.
It makes me think of like the amount of times Dreams by Fleetwood Mac has been just gone viral in the last 5 just simply because of TikTok.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Every show it gets placed in, then it snowballs into TikTok, and then it snowballs into
Again,
this.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah. And then we have a new remix, and then, yeah, crazy.
yeah. Yeah. And then Elton John singing it, and Dua Lipa or something. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Literally,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
who thought they would be appealing to the under 20 crowd with a record from like the what is that record from, the 70s or the 80s? Like, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
people are into it. People are like, yeah, I think people are really looking for that like nostalgia and analog sound again,
Yeah,
people's like AI slop radar is really, uh, I guess, like loaded and like triggered easily. That
yeah,
I hope, I think people's ears and eyes are getting better at recognizing that stuff, and are looking again for like that more genuine, throwback sound, which is fun. So yeah,
yeah.
I'm excited to
Okay,
share more stuff like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you're on tour right now. What are your like
Hmm.
must-haves on the road? Oh my God, I wish I brought this. I forgot. Can somebody please Amazon this to me at the next
Yeah,
location?
so funny. Okay, I actually have a funny story. Like, we left last week from Halifax, and the day before tour, I picked up the rental van and I stocked it with vitamins for the whole band because like everybody's getting sick right now, and
Constantly, yep.
I was dealing with like a sinus infection at like end of January, and so like I'm just like obviously trying to stay as healthy as possible myself. And I was like checking out with like an armload of vitamins at this like health store in Halifax, and the lady was like, "Oh yeah, you're getting like the vitamin special or something." I was like, "Yep, yep, going on tour with my band. I'm stocking up." And she was like, "Oh, I grew up in the '80s and bands were hammering different things back then." I was like, "Yeah, yeah, it's a different world out here." I was like, so like literally like my must-haves are like so funny. They're so green. They're just like, yeah, vitamins. Drinking water aggressively. I have like a throat steamer for
Hmm.
hydrating my vocal folds, just like nerdy singing stuff. I have a lot of like challenging vocal parts. I do a lot of falsetto, and it
Yeah.
also helps my, Rachel, the singer in my band and keys player. She's also a professional vocal coach, so she has all sorts of like tricks in her like oh shit kit, and it's awesome. Like, um, it's really great to be back on the road. But yeah, you got to also take care of your body along the way. I'm big on like prioritizing sleep and my health. Um, I'd say like food wise, big A&W guy. We love an A&W burger on the road if we're doing fast food. Sometimes, that's all there is when you're touring
Yep.
through rural areas.
Yep.
Tim Hortons also, can't go wrong with a farmer's breakfast wrap. But yeah.
Yep. I just had the visuals of the farmer's breakfast wrap TikToks, and I'm not even chronically online, and I'm just that's so funny. Don't look it up.
Okay, yeah, I don't even know what you're talking about, and I don't want to. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, no,
that's funny.
no, no, no. Okay, last thing, because we
Yeah.
are running to time, and you need to check out of your hotel soon. So, what are you listening to right now? Because I hit the new Megan Maroney record, wasn't super
Mm.
stoked. The new Harry Styles album, and I was like, I like 3 songs, no offense. Like, I just thought I would love top to bottom and didn't.
Yeah.
What are you listening to? It's mostly me asking for Rex selfishly.
Yeah, I'm looking at my recently played. We did listen to the new Harry Styles record in the van on the way to
Yep.
the last gig. It was good, very good. Actually, it was on the way home from the gig as well. Like we did like half on the way there, half on the way home. And I'd say it hit harder at night. Like night driving to that record
Okay.
was a
Okay.
vibe.
I day drove, so maybe that's
give
the
it
vibe.
maybe give it another shot. Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it's like, something I would put on in the background necessarily, but okay, new music Rex for you. I've been listening to a lot of Charlie Crockett as well,
Duh.
like in the country
Yeah.
world. And then out of Nashville, I just listened to this person's new single, Emma Ogier. You should check her out. She is someone I saw at Americana Fest last year, and then I ended up, and she played with a band, which her brother is in, and then I ended up writing with her brother, Aiden, last time I was in Nashville. It was like a funny, like, oh, I've actually like weirdly seen you play, even though we're just meeting for the first time. Anyway, she just started putting out some music. It's really great, Emma Ogier. And then I've also been listening to this record, which has been rocking my world, by Sam Henshaw. It's called
Okay.
It Could Be Worse. It's like an R&B soul record, and it just sounds so good. My wife
Yep.
sent it to me because I'm on a bit of like a soul Motown kick right now. And yeah, I haven't stopped listening to that, so highly recommend if you're into that
Amazing.
genre at all. Yeah.
Absolutely am. I'm dialing back on the. This is a bad time to say this. But I'm dialing back on the country a little bit. And I'm just like, sometimes you get so deep
Yeah.
in that you're only listening to, and you're like, oh my god, I need a
Zone
minute.
out.
So
Yeah.
I need out of here for a sec. So
Fair enough.
appreciate the Rex. Okay, Braden, where can people find you on the road and on the internet? Not your home address, please.
Yeah, yeah. Find me on Instagram, on TikTok, Braden Lam Music, or my website, bradenlam.com. I also put out a really sweet monthly newsletter if you like hearing
Oh,
some ramblings and diary entries of my life. And some. I also give out book and music recommendations in my newsletter as well of what I'm reading and listening to. So you can hit that up.
signing up.
Yeah.
Signing
Yeah.
up. Love that. I love that we've brought back it never left many areas of the music world, but the newsletter.
Yeah.
It's actually like it used to be such a big thing, and now it's coming back as something people actually want again, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm into it. I'm signed up for like most of my artistic friends' newsletters, and I love when they hit my inbox. It's great.
You had me at Book Rex,
Good.
so
Yeah. Yeah. I've become a big bookworm the past year. It's good. It's nice to
I love
to
that.
share. Yeah.
I love that. All right, Braden, thanks so much for hanging on the porch with me only today. And Logan, you were missed.
Hi, Logan.
Thanks for listening to another episode of On the Porch with Front Porch Music. We're so lucky to be able to chat with artists and make episodes like this one. If you like the podcast, remember to rate and review us, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. It's the easiest way to support the show. Remember to check out frontporchmusic.ca to keep up with new music releases, exclusive artist interviews, and more. We'll catch you again on the porch in a couple of weeks. On the Porch is hosted by Logan Miller and Jenna Weiser, and produced and edited by Jason Saunders. That's me. Our theme song was written, produced, and performed by Owen Wrigley.